Come on, come on, come on. Let's see here. Hello, Dark Star. Hello, Juggernauts. Just trying to get going here. Hold on. Interesting. Interesting. Well, my stuff ain't working the way it normally would. Hang on just a second. I'm just trying to get a link going on in Twitter so I can... Normally my stream would be right at the top of my app when I open it up, but it ain't doing it now, which is odd. Huh. Let me do it this way. I can put it in my... Wow, it ain't... So strange. Okay, so I should be able to go... Yeah, there we go. Okay. Alright. Had to go about it a stupid way, but got the same thing. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to post it on X. X. The so wonderfully named X. Not to be confused with the crappy Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff horror movie, X. That's really just a softcore Skinamax flick. And come on. There we go. Alright. Okay, so we can stop fooling with that foolishness. Let's see who's in here so far. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Nick. Hi, Raymond. Hi, Ben. 8th is still at work. He'll be home in a little bit, which is why I've got the dog again. Who has a bigger appetite, you or 8th? Actually, 8th eats a lot more food than I do. 8th eats a lot more food than I do. He packs it away. He gets that from his late cousin, the one who died of a broken neck a couple of years ago. He has a stomach like him. He has what we call 2 hollow feet. He can just pack it and pack it and pack it and pack it. Eighth can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then around 8 o'clock be like, time for second dinner. That's 8th. Yes, I've played the Shenmue series. I'm not a fan. I recognize the historical significance of it because it was the first game to do the kind of stuff that games that came afterwards, like Shenmue and Grand Theft Auto and whatnot, would eventually get around to. But that doesn't mean that I have to like it, which I don't. I am not a big fan of Shenmue. So we'll be getting going here in about 3 minutes. So hope y'all brought lots of questions, because I haven't. Didn't have a whole lot lined up to talk about, so I'm hoping y'all brought plenty of stuff to discuss. Hello, Bill. How's it going, Bill? You got an easy name to keep track of. Bill. I don't have to worry about getting your name wrong. It's just Bill. I like that. I like that a lot. What are the best songs on Sonic 1? I don't know. I never bothered to learn their names. Seventh, did you read my question? Seventh, were you talking about the grandmother that always called you turd? I wasn't talking about her tonight. What do you mean? I haven't brought up any grandmother so far tonight. What are you referring to, Asura? Plans for Halloween. Yeah, I plan to sit on my fat butt the whole time because our neighborhood doesn't get trick-or-treaters. Now, historically, 8th has spent Halloween or close to it going out to one of these big haunted houses around here with his friends. I don't know if that's going to happen this year because he's working this year. So my assumption is that he'll be working. Don't know. Don't know. How's 8th digging Lord of the Fallen? He likes some things about it, and then there's some things about it he don't like. He hasn't really gone into a lot of detail with me on that as of just yet. Sup, Stevie boy. Are you still planning on Where Are They Now videos after the last Stray Brotherhood video? I never said for certain that I was doing that in the first place. I said there had been some people that had expressed willingness to do interviews. I haven't stated what those interviews will be or when they would be done. All I can tell you is that the episode tomorrow is the last official episode, at least of this section of it. And it's going to take me a very long time to edit. And there definitely won't be another episode after this one anytime soon. Because I'm going to have to spend time trying to collect up enough videos to do what happens after all this, assuming they can even be found. Anyway, it's Saturday, it's 6 o'clock. It is October 21st, 2023, and this is the 7th Cast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th will be home in a little bit to get his dog out of here. He's currently at work. So, let's catch up with the chat real quick. Let's see here. How's it going, 7th? Enjoying Spider-Man 2 quite a bit. That makes one of us. 7th, what's your favorite Naughty Dog title? Uncharted 2. Did you ever beat a Sonic game with all the Chaos Emeralds? The original game. Must-have PS5 action platformer? Without spoilers, are you liking Spider-Man? Not especially. I don't hate it, but, I'm not overly enthused about it. Maybe I'm a Sony fanboy, but Spider-Man 2 looks more deserving a Game of the Year than Mario Wonder. I haven't played Mario Wonder. Couldn't tell you. Although, to be honest, just watching other people play it, Mario Wonder to me just looks like New Super Mario Brothers with improved animations and more costumes. Which I wasn't a big fan of New Super Mario Brothers as a series anyway. My face is kind of swollen and puffy today. I'm not really sure what's up with that. Weird. Do you indulge in the masochistic Demon Souls type? I don't play the Souls-like genre. I've said that dozens of times on here over the years. Metroidvania, yes. Souls-like, no. So, got Spider-Man 2. We actually got 2 copies of Spider-Man 2 because 8th bought the collector's edition with the 19 inches of Venom statue, and it doesn't come with a physical copy. It only comes with a voucher, despite all that money you pay. So I ordered a physical copy. And 8th started playing it yesterday afternoon, stopped after an hour or so because he was going out with his friends, started it back up after midnight last night, finished it early this morning. Took him 10.5 hours to beat the game on the hardest difficulty. He had to do a few side quests because there are instances where the game won't pop the next main quest until you do a couple of side quests first. But for the most part, he didn't go hunting for collectibles or stuff to upgrade himself or any of that. He just plowed through the main story missions as quickly as he could get through them. 10.5 hours. 10.5 hours storyline for an open world sandbox game. It's pretty light. It's pretty light, especially for a game that's got a map the size of this one, because it is a huge map. It's great big. I'm 4 or 5 hours into it, I think, but I'm not playing it the way he's playing it. When I do a sandbox game, I'm a map cleaner. You know, I don't rush to do all the story missions. I go and do all the little odds and ends. And so I got to the point, let's see, how can I say this without spoiling things? I got to the point where Peter gets his new job. That's how far I got. And then I stopped. At that point, it was 4 in the morning, so I went to sleep, got back up at 10, piddled around in the house, not really feeling like playing it, watched a movie, and then ate dinner, and now I'm here. I say this knowing that I've said in the past that I wasn't a tremendous fan of the first Spider-Man game either. It just doesn't do it for me. It's not that there's any one thing wrong with it. It just doesn't do anything for me. I look at a sandbox game and I think this should have at least 20 hours of story to the main story. It has half that. And I don't think it differentiates all the side activities enough to warrant this big open map. There's lots of stuff there, but there's not enough of it that's varied to where you want to do this stuff. It's like Starfield in a lot of ways, because you've got, a small amount of actual story content and then a whole bunch of side stuff and additional mechanics that you either don't need, will never use, or both, to pad things out and make it feel like it's a much bigger game than it actually is. And unfortunately, that's proving to be quite the trend with sandbox games lately. So even a game where, in theory you could put 100, 200 hours into it, it's got 10, 15 hours worth of story to it, because you can blast right through Starfield like that. I've knocked through a tremendous amount of it in under 10 hours and just got bored before finishing it. And I'm bored with this, and I'm only like 5 hours into it. One of the things is that for me, the combat, even though they've made some changes, but it's mostly little, tech attacks and new spider power attacks. For the most part, for me, it feels like the original game. And what the original game feels like is faster, more chaotic Arkham series, where the combat almost feels more like a rhythm game than actual live beat 'em up style combat. And they don't do a whole lot to differentiate it. Sure, you've got some stealth missions where you're crawling around on the ceiling or crawling across basically a trapeze wire, and you're zipping them up and tying them up just like in Arkham, and you're crawling around in vents just like Arkham, and you're finding stupid little puzzles to do to collect stuff you won't need just like Arkham, and then you'll run into an area where there's a pocket of a fight where you're just surrounded by half a dozen guys and you're just kind of zipping back and forth from one to the other while hitting circle to dodge out of the way when your sense lets you know, just like Arkham. It doesn't do anything for me because it does, aside from the web slinging, which is the best web slinging that's ever been done in a Spider-Man game, it's nothing new. And because of the fact that I'm going on, I'm almost 49 years old, I've read Spider-Man comics for years before I finally got out of collecting. They've shuffled some things around as far as who is what and why, but otherwise it's still just, Spider-Man stuff. You get this sense, and I'm not even getting into the fact that it's basically the same map. Of course it's the same map. It's New York. Spider-Man works in New York. But I can't shake the sense when playing it of I've seen all of this and I've done all of this before. And that's why I don't get excited about it. I mean, it doesn't even have a memorable theme. Anything that has to do with a superhero should have a memorable theme. When I see Superman, I hear John Williams score, or I hear Hans Zimmer score from Man of Steel. Batman, Hans Zimmer score for Dark Knight, or Danny Elfman's Batman score. This Spider-Man, the music is just generic orchestra. Meant more to set a mood than to put actual themes behind everything. Venom should have a theme. Kraven the Hunter should have a theme. Spidey should have a theme. Even Mary Jane should have a theme. They're not doing John Williams here. They're doing mood music. And yes, it's all very well done, but I'm not going to turn the game off and be whistling any of the music from this game because you'll never remember any of it. And to me, that's, when it comes to superhero stuff, that's an unforgivable sin. And so that's really the gist of it, I'm not hating it. I've had two bugs, okay? The first bug was in the Sandman fight, and it's in that area where he's surrounded by buildings, and he's great big, and you're waiting on Peter to bring water or whatever. And I went to do an attack on him, and then I went to raise myself back up, and all of a sudden, Miles flips around and heads straight down, head first, smacks onto the concrete, then shoots back up in the air, flips in a loop, head first back down to the concrete, and was just doing it over and over again. I had no control over the game. The controller was fully charged. It was lit up. It was synced. I could hit the PlayStation button and that would work, but none of the face buttons or the triggers would do anything. And Sandman just kept throwing stuff at me, and it hit me, and no life was going down on my life bar. Game was just locked. So I had to load from the most recent checkpoint and start that part of the fight over. That was bug one. The other bug is that I went to one of the photo locations where you're supposed to take a picture, and the one that I went to was up on a rooftop, and it was a tennis court up on the roof of a building. And so I landed up at a perch where I had the right angle. I took the picture. I got the experience. I got the little thing from the guy you're selling the pictures to, and he reads off his little script, blah, blah, blah. And I got the experience for it, and the little picture of a camera disappeared from my map screen. But on the actual screen where I was looking down at the tennis court, that little green camera was still there. And so now, even hours later, anywhere I'm at on the map, I will see a little camera with an arrow pointing to that tennis court, telling me there's a photo up there when there's not. So those are the two glitches I've run into thus far. So it's certainly not a broken game, and the graphics are amazing. I'm playing it in performance mode, and it's 60 frames per second with the ray tracing, and everything looks great. Very, very smooth. You can definitely tell a graphical quality difference between the original and this one. It's plainly obvious. Way more cars moving on the street, way more pedestrians walking around on the street. It's fantastic to look at. And the controls work fine. It's just not holding my attention. I'm having to force myself to keep playing it because I get bored, especially when it keeps breaking up the stuff to let's go on a tour of Peter's house, let's go on a tour of Harry's new business venture. Let's go through a flashback sneaking through Peter's house. Let's become Mary Jane again and do another stealth mission. No, you can tell story without stopping the momentum of it and having these slow, boring parts. Now, I realize that when done properly, that can break up a lot of action so the action doesn't become monotonous. But in this case, right when you're starting to get into the groove of it, that's when Insomniac's doing it. They're not pacing it right. The pacing is off. And honestly, who wants to do Mary Jane stealth missions? Not me. I bought a Spider-Man game. I didn't buy a Mary Jane game. She can play an integral part of the plot without you actually having to play as her. It's annoying, and it's not fun at all. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about that particular topic, so I guess for the rest of the evening we're on Q&A. Let me scroll up. Let's see here. What do you think of Hideo Kojima? I can take him or leave him, honestly. 8th likes his stuff a lot better than I do. Will 8th get RoboCop Rogue C? I have no idea. 8th gets what he wants. 7th, did you check out the Last Faith demo? I have no idea what that is. Venom looks amazing, but I'm trying my best to avoid spoilers. Yeah, here's the thing. Real Venom, pure Venom, it's only the last 6 chapters of the story. It's like just when he's starting to really get cool and things are really starting to get messed up, well, then it's over. And here's another thing. This is going to be spoilery, but it's a complaint. I'll try to be as vague as possible. If any of you have seen the first Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man, do you remember when the lizard polluted the whole city with this stuff that was turning everyone in the city into little lizard men? Yeah. Just remember that. Because someone thought that was such an original idea. Someone in Insomniac, hey, let's do our version of that. Anyway. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Chris G. 8th played it on the hardest difficulty level, and he completed every story mission in about 10.5 hours. I'm just saying. With none of the None of the little accessibility things turned on to make it any easier. None of that. 8th doesn't play on anything but hard mode. That's the only mode he plays on. 10.5 hours. Do you like the Arkham games better? Yes and no. I just, I don't like stealth gameplay. I don't like the whole sneaking around and trying to avoid flashlights or incapacitating and all. I don't like that style of gameplay. And Arkham has it, and Spider-Man has it, and I don't like it. To me, it's boring. Been playing a ton of Wrath of the Lynch King. Well, okay. Yeah, the thing of it is, Nicholas, they're reading a lot into what Insomniac actually said as far as, a Venom spinoff. They'd have to do an awful lot of retconning to have a Venom spinoff. Let's put it that way. Let's just put it like that. 7th, have you played Gargoyles Remastered? No, I have not. Hi, Shadow Deist. 7th, why does Konami still exist? Because they make a lot of money off of pachinko machines in Japan. Thoughts on Harry Osborn being Venom rather than Eddie Brock? I don't understand it. I don't really get it. Harry had his own direction. That, to me, that just feels like Insomniac wanting to be different for the sake of being different. Yeah, there's a couple of Silent Hill games coming, Table. I've got 4 S ranks to go in Armored Core 6. Oh, you've been a busy bee. Hi, video game lover. 8th gets everything in one go. He's the platinum man. Pretty much. Although he told me he didn't know if he was going to bother with the platinum on this or not, because the side stuff just doesn't interest him. So maybe he'll do it through New Game Plus if when and if New Game Plus finally shows up. Hi, Mario. I just finished Spider-Man 2, and the secret ending pretty much confirmed what I mentioned in one of your previous podcasts. I don't remember what that was. Spider-Man Web of Shadows had the whole city infected with symbiotes. Is the first game of a series always best due to only being able to open a present once? No. Uncharted 2 was infinitely better than the first Uncharted. Are you interested in Diablo 4? I have Diablo 4. I haven't started it yet. Did you ever have any interest in the first Red Dead Redemption? More than I did in the second one. But I haven't gone out of my way to buy the remaster of it. Are you looking forward to The Iron Claw? Don't know what that is. Is that movie about the Von Erich brothers? Not really. I think this game should have been Norman becoming Green Goblin, and then, the next game could have been Harry becoming Hobgoblin. Shadow, I already said why Konami still exists. Don't ask repeat questions. I have not played Armored Core 6, no. I mentioned Silk was going to be featured as a playable Spider-Woman. I don't really care. It's not even a character I'm familiar with. She didn't exist when I read Spider-Man comics. Oh, for 60 frames per second patch for Red Dead. I might get it when it gets down to $19. I'm not spending retail on it. What do you think is the best thing Konami made? My favorite Konami game remains Symphony of the Night. Do you think they'll put Spider Green in the next Spider-Man game? I have no idea what that is or what it references. No, I'm not getting Modern Warfare 3. I don't play Call of Duty. What old game did you think was going to be good only for it to suck when you played it? Drive Club. Do you think 2D side scrollers shouldn't be 60 or more? Absolutely not. Shouldn't be any higher than $30. Max. Thoughts on the flame antagonist actually being you-know-who? I probably haven't gotten that far, Brother Natural. Shadow Konami still exists because Japanese people still like pachinko machines. Did you beat the Upside Down Castle for Symphony of the Night? Yes, I beat the whole game. I came into the tail end of your Spider-Man 2 discussion. Did you mention the differences in gameplay between Peter Parker and Miles Morales? I mean, there's differences in the abilities, but more or less it's the same thing. It's just different abilities. But it still boils down to overall the same thing, you know. You've got individual power attacks. You've got individual tech attacks. You've got area of effect attacks. They just look different. They don't really feel any different when you play as Peter or Miles. Yes, Drive Club was a load of junk. I put all Activision Blizzard games on my ignore list after they screwed over the Call of Duty community. Well, I never was into Call of Duty to begin with, so no negative effects on me. Are you going to check out Killers of the Flower Moon? No. 8th expressed interest in going to see it with his friends. I'll watch it when it's free on one of my streaming services. Are you interested in the new 2D Sonic game? No. Thoughts on Mandalorian Season 3? Well, I don't even remember it at this point, so that should tell you. I don't even remember what happened in Series 3 at this point. 7th, did you like the Mummy movies? I liked the first two. The third one sucked. If you were rich AF, what would be your drug of choice? Money. Money. And buying things. Buying things would be my drug of choice. When I needed a fix, I just hop on Amazon and buy every new release. So you don't like stealth games and Call of Duty. What do you like? I like open world action games that don't have stealth missions. I like RPGs. I like JRPGs. I like old school retro stuff. I like first person shooters that are more on the boomer shooter side of things. Usually sci-fi or horror based shooters. No, military stuff. Thoughts on the TV show 24? Never liked it. How does Skyrim compare to Starfield? I think Skyrim has a more satisfying sense of exploration than Starfield does, by far. What made the Dreamcast so special? I never owned one. At the time it came out, it just looked leaps and bounds better than any of the other consoles that were on the market at the time of its release. And it was one of the first times where the phrase bringing the arcade home pretty much really meant bringing the arcade home, because the games looked like the games you played at the arcade. No, I don't like to gamble. No, I don't play the Far Cry series. Well, I've dabbled in it when I was still caring about platinum trophies, because Far Cry games generally always have an easy platinum trophy. They just take a while to complete because of all the collectathon crap. Are you going to pick up Mario Wonder? Not for $60, I'm not. When GameFly has it used for $30, then I'll buy it. Do you like Doom Eternal? No, I preferred the previous one, Doom 2016. Doom Eternal was too formulaic. Run down a corridor, set off a couple of switches, get into a big round room, kill everything in the big round room, go to the next hallway, get to the next big round room, get stuck in the big round room, kill everything in the big round room, go to the next hallway. That's Doom Eternal. I feel like the Doom 2016 mixed things up in a better, more satisfying way. Doom Eternal just felt like you were repeating the same process over and over. 7th, do you ever order pizza doing your radio voice? No, I order over an app. I don't call. Have you ever experienced any side effects from vaping? None. Why are boomer shooters not popular anymore? I don't know. I think stuff like Call of Duty moves slower than the shooters I played back in the day. And so you have these Call of Duty players that get into something like one of the more recent boomer shooters, and they don't like it because it moves too fast. No, I didn't watch Highway to Heaven. Why don't you like to gamble? Thought you were the type. Nope, I'm not. I believe in a sure thing. Hi, Chris. Thoughts on Skull Island? Looks like a piece of garbage. 7th, do you like the Friday films? Yes, I think they're funny. Have you ever played Manhunt? What's your thoughts on it? Yes, I've played Manhunt. I think it sucks. It's just a game with really shitty gameplay that was basically marketed for its edginess. And the people who still like it and swear by it are looking back on it with rose-tinted glasses because, you know, they just liked being this down and dirty, escapee murderer type. I think it sucks. Gameplay sucked. Do you use nicotine with your vape? Yes, but a very low dose. Very low. It's barely even there. 7th, played only a bit of Spider-Man 2, but a bit of Super Mario Wonder. It's great and instant. Yeah, well, I'm not paying $60 for it. 2023 will be marked as the greatest year for video games, and no one can convince me otherwise. Sorry, man, I don't agree. Have you played any old 8-bit computers back in the day, like Atari or Commodore 64? I never played the Atari XE. My friend down the street had a Commodore 64, so I played a lot of those games. I didn't have either of those. My computer was a Tandy 1000 PC clone when I was a kid. Do you think we'll ever see Killzone, Resistance, and SOCOM again? Not from their original studios. I highly doubt it. Thoughts on Dead Island 2? To me, it wasn't worth the wait. It was pretty much exactly what I was expecting, so I wasn't dissatisfied with it because I liked the first one. And it until I got distracted by another game, it was giving me exactly what I was wanting from it. So 7th, who screws up more, Rockstar, Capcom, or EA? Well, you can't say Rockstar because they barely ever put anything out. Between those three, I'd say EA. Although Capcom during the 360 and PS3 generation screwed up a lot. I'm to this day, I'm kind of surprised they were able to come back from it. Yes, I've played Brutal Legends. I loved the storyline of it. Brutal Legends would have been a game I really got into if not for the fact of all the stupid tower defense crap. If they had left that out, I would have loved that game. If it just been a big open world third person action game, I would have adored it. But they had to put in that stupid tower defense garbage, and that's what ruined it for me. What's my game of the year so far? Honestly, Hogwarts Legacy. I had a lot more fun with it than I have anything else this year. My dad said his first was an Apple IIc. What was yours? Tandy 1000EX. Favorite game? I already said that. Do you think there will be another Doom 3 in the Doom series? I hope not. Which do you prefer, Spyro or Crash? I'm not a big fan of either one of those. I prefer Ratchet, Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. Do you think Capcom only came back from their screw-ups because of the remakes of Resident Evil? That helped, but also just... I think really what brought them back was Resident Evil 7. I think that's really what put them back on the map. Because if you remember when Street Fighter 5 came out, there was a lot of people not happy with that game. But then Resident Evil 7 came out, and then all of a sudden everybody loved Capcom again. Seventh, would you rather have a great game that takes 500 hours to complete or a short game that only takes 5 hours? Well, duh, Chris. If it's a boring... If it was a boring game, then I wouldn't even want to play the 5 hours of it. Have you played Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? No. I don't play on Switch very much. Why did Sony let Killzone Resistance and SOCOM die? Sales numbers. Thoughts on the upcoming Wolverine game possibly being teen rated? That's a mistake. Capcom could resurrect Mega Man Legends 3. Yeah, but they're not gonna. Not in any way that would satisfy anybody anyway. Are you planning on reading Sonic Life by Thurston Moore? No. If you and Eighth started a band, what would it be called and who plays what instruments and who sings? Eighth can't sing. So I'd have to be the one to sing. Eighth dabbles in guitar, but he hasn't really learned it yet. So it's kind of a lost concept because he currently can't play an instrument. Why smoke vapes? Just smoke weed. Weed's expensive. Vape is not. Not the way I buy it anyway. Do you think Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar Games are both to blame for the greedy direction Rockstar is going in? Oh, absolutely. Street Fighter V pissed people off because it didn't have a campaign. True. But there were other things as well. Great game shouldn't take 500 hours to beat. That's wild. Well, if it's a really, really, really good game, it could. How many years it would take them to actually design it is another story entirely. And how much money they'd have to spend. And I think that's the thing. You're not going to see a non-live service game that has 500 hours of gameplay, because the amount of money that would go into making a game like that would not be recouped by selling copies. They'd lose money on it. Are you looking forward to the Wizard of Oz Souls-like game? No, because for the 100th time, I don't play Souls-likes. Jesus, it's like y'all don't listen. I say that every 7th cast. I don't like Souls-likes. And y'all keep asking me, am I looking forward to the next Souls-like? No! No! Jesus. I'm doing fine, Zachary. Yes, I used to be a punk rock singer, Shadow. Thoughts on Chris Chan and his mom? Couldn't care less. Do you think they should make a Mega Man Legends 3? Couldn't care less. I've got 988 hours in Skyrim alone. I beat it after about 120 hours, I think. Do you like playing physical pinball machines? Very much so, but too expensive to own one. Chris, just don't. Don't, Chris. Not in the mood. The only thing that interests me with Killzone was the original trilogy. Every introduction was the Hellgas perspective. Yeah. I don't really have any comment on that, but yeah. I went to a local pinball museum and was amazed, especially by South Park Pinball, but the Mandalorian one was cool as well. I haven't played any of the new ones. Not since maybe 2017 when I went to Pinballs here in Austin. I beat Bloodborne, but I'm not a fan of the genre. I didn't plat Bloodborne, but I beat it. Thoughts on Action 52? It's a piece of crap. It's 52 pieces of crappy action on one card. Do you think the Revolutionary War could have been prevented? Maybe the method in which it occurred, but it was going to happen sooner or later. Thoughts on the Punisher video game? There's more than one. You'd have to be more specific. Any benefits from using AI? Not in my estimation. Do you think Mass Effect 3 was the weakest of the trilogy? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it was a work of art compared to Mass Effect Andromeda. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy was rightfully removed? She ain't been removed yet. She's still there. 7th, Popeyes or KFC? Golden Chick. It's a Texas thing. Jaffe seems to think AI will be an integral part, but so far I don't think so. I could see where it would play a part in certain aspects of design, but as far as real-world benefits, I can't think of anything that would be worth the price to our freedoms that we'd have to pay to get it. Thoughts on Prototype 1 and 2? Never liked it. Didn't like the way it controlled. I much preferred the Infamous series. No, I don't like Evan Almighty. Thoughts on the Sopranos TV show? Tried to get into it because I love Goodfellas. Didn't like it. It was boring to me. 7th, since you're from Texas. I'm not originally from Texas. I just live in Texas. Have you ridden a horse? I rode a horse, but it was in Tennessee when I was a kid. 7th, are you a fan of Red Dead? Not especially, no. Thoughts on video game prices going up to $70? I'm surprised it took this long. When the price didn't go up during the previous generation from $59 to $69, I was shocked. So, I was expecting that to happen with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Where's the dog? She's laying around here somewhere. She's in here. She just hasn't asked to come up here with me. I think she's laying down on her blanket. Do you watch True Detective? No. Was it scary riding a horse? No. How would you rank the Infamous games? 2-1 Second Son, because I didn't like Delson Rowe as a character. Why did video games go up to $70? Inflation. Everything else is going up. Cost of development's going up. Groceries are going up. Gas is going up. Electricity's going up. You expect video games to stay the same price? Not trying to defend it. I'm just being a realist about it. I'm not going to sit and cry like a bitch over $10 more. What's the scariest roller coaster you ever got on? I can't think of any time where I've rode a roller coaster that actually scared me. I guess they just don't have that effect on me. Do you like Death Battle? Not especially. I've seen a couple of them, but that's about it. What do you want from the new Wolverine game coming out and expectations of it? I don't know, because I don't know what style of game it's going to be. Is it going to be a more level-based game? Is it going to be open world? We don't know yet. I just hope there's no frickin' stealth in it. When will the next Infamous come out? Probably never. They've probably abandoned that series because of how much more successful Ghost of Tsushima was. I already watched Deathstream. It was funny. Inflation isn't politics unless you make it political. Inflation is economics. Why don't you like Death Battle? I just don't think it's all that funny. Yes, the Wolverine game should be rated M. By the way, Shadow Hood, that's once again trying to troll me, so that's strike one. Well, guess we'll never get the Infamous remake. Not from Sucker Punch, you won't. Maybe some other studio, if they think there's a market for it, they'll do like a remaster or something, but it won't be from Sucker Punch, not directly anyway. What's your favorite VHS horror franchise segment? My favorite was from VHS 2, and it's the one where they sneak into that death cult, and they get down in the basement, and that dude turns into a horned god and starts chasing them out of the complex. That's my favorite one. Did you watch The Vigil? Yeah, I thought it was kind of slow. Did you ever watch Welcome Back, Kotter or any other sitcom? I watched lots of sitcoms, but not Welcome Back, Kotter. Now, I watched The Jeffersons. I watched Good Times, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. Watched lots of sitcoms, but not Welcome Back, Kotter. Who's the best dancer, John Travolta or Fred? Jesus, Chris. Fred Astaire. Are you a fan of the Wolfenstein games? I was until Youngblood. That was a piece of crap. Is there an old school Pizza Hut near you? Nope. Just delivery. No old school Pizza Huts around here. It's a shame, too. Thoughts on Resistance 3. It was the best story for me. I never really liked the first two. I liked Nathan Hale. I thought it was stupid that they killed him off. I did like the story of Resistance 3. But I didn't like that it went back to having to collect health packs to maintain your health or whatever. We probably won't see a crossover between Wolverine and Spider-Man if the upcoming Wolverine game gets rated M. Insomniac never released an M-rated game. Well, there's first time for everything. Favorite Mafia game? To be honest with you, I've only played the first one. I haven't had a chance to watch your video yet, Chris. It's been very busy for me because other people on my team at work have been on vacation, out sick, and I've been having to be covering for people. I was quite surprised that I didn't get put on call this weekend. I was very surprised by that. Do they still make Gears of War? I have no idea. Don't know if you're going to get a Gears 6 or not. I don't know. I haven't Exorcist the beginning. Exorcist the beginning. Was that one with Skarsgård in it? I barely remember it. What's the last game you got addicted to? Oh, Lord. I can't really remember. Kind of says a lot, doesn't it? I don't remember Insomniac being M for mature, but it could be. I don't remember. I thought it was T for teen. Hi, Ultra Steel. Amityville Horror or Poltergeist? I like Poltergeist better. I didn't think either one of them were particularly scary. Hi, Beef Jerkings. Are you a fan of Phil Collins? Some of it. Some of it. The new Wolverine will be like the old school God of Wars. I don't know about that. I'm not getting into that whole thing, Bill. Thoughts on found footage horror movies? Most of them are trash in my opinion. I like found footage when it's done right. There's a few of them that I do like. I liked Grave Encounters. I didn't like Grave Encounters 2. I really like The Taking of Deborah Logan, for example. There are good ones out there, but there's also a lot of crap. I liked Wreck, and I liked the US version Quarantine. I liked that one as well. Here's the thing about found footage, though. Once you've seen it, you've seen it. They don't have the rewatch value of more traditional horror films, with rare exceptions like The Taking of Deborah Logan. You have to go a long time without watching the movie, almost to the point where you've forgotten everything about it before you can go back into it and say, oh yeah, oh yeah. Chucky versus Annabelle versus Megan. Who's coming out the victor? I think Chucky would come out the winner on that one. What game or show did you think had the worst voice acting? We'll go with game, the original Resident Evil. What are you and 8's favorite shows on Cartoon Network? I don't watch Cartoon Network. 8 likes Adventure Time and something else. I can't remember which one. Regular show, maybe? Regular show is still on HBO, and that's where 8th watches all of the Cartoon Network stuff. Why didn't you like Grave Encounters 2? Because it wasn't as good as Grave Encounters 1. Same reason why I liked the original Hell House, LLC, but I thought the second and third one were crap. Same reason why I thought that The Houses October Built was one of the best found footage movies I've ever seen, but the second one was garbage because of the way they ended it. No, I don't believe in Bigfoot. Yes, I liked Cloverfield. No, I don't like In the Air Tonight. The Cyborg found footage from VHS 94 was disturbing to watch. I barely remember it. Thoughts on CM Punk's career? He did it to himself. I've seen a few episodes of Dexter's Lab. There were some things in it that were funny. What's the worst Rob Zombie movie? Everything that came out after House of a Thousand Corpses. Favorite Jet Li Favorite Jet Li movie. I don't know. I never really got that big into Jet Li. I remember liking The One. Who is your favorite wrestler? Roddy Piper. 7th, do you think TV should die since people are streaming stuff and watching YouTube? Well, everyone switched to streaming because at the time it was cheaper than paying for cable. But now, to get all of these different streaming services so you have access to the same amount of stuff as cable, it's getting to where it's more expensive than cable. So, who knows? I need a new game. What do you recommend? Couldn't recommend anything, Stevie, because I don't know what all you have in your library. 7th, do you think King Kong vs. Godzilla is overrated? It pretty much did what I wanted it to. At least the new one. The old one is just bad, but it's bad in a fun way. I remember there was a Jet Li game for PS2 that was kind of popular. What was it called? Rise of Dragon or something? Rise of something. I didn't like it. I didn't like the game, the control scheme. Are you excited for any anime movies or shows? Not particularly. Bye, Chris. 7th, which Nightmare on Elm Street films do you recommend? 1 and 3. That's it. 1 and 3. Everything else, don't bother because it's just comedies. It's just comedies. And even 3 has humor in it, but besides 1 and 3, it's just basically a parody of itself. Freddy vs. Jason is fun in a so bad it's good kind of way. The big problem I have with Rob Zombie is he never lets anyone write his movies for him. Yeah, I wish somebody else had written his Monsters movie, because damn. That movie was terrible. Never got into the No More Heroes series, Nick. Can you please do a DBTS for Rise of Kong or Gollum? No, because I don't want to pay for them. If somebody sends me those games, I'll review them. But I'm not paying my own money for them. Would you rather have a night with Taylor Swift or every new release game in 2024? I'll take the games. I can just tell that Taylor Swift is not someone I'd get along with. I can just tell. Yes, ECW was destined to fail. What games do you think deserves a DBTS episode that released this year besides Gollum and Kong? Redfall. There was never anything wrong with England's performance. He was giving them what they asked for. I just think they leaned too far into the comedy bit of it. And they tried to course correct with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but by that point the damage had been done, and then they did the remake and went too far in the other direction and made him just a nasty child molester. Rob Zombie's Halloween was terrible. Yes, it had good kills. Yes, it had a cool aesthetic, but it totally misunderstood the fear factor of Michael Myers and why it existed. And I've talked about that before. What made it terrifying was there was no horrifying backstory. There was no child abuse or any of that in the original. He was evil just because he was. And that's what made him scary. You give him a backstory, oh, he had abusive redneck parents. Messed up redneck is all that Rob Zombie seems to know how to do, because so many of his movies were about messed up rednecks. So no, it wasn't great. It ruined Michael Myers. It did have some great kills. That's about it. Thoughts on the Flash movie? It was horrible. Had some cool scenes. Michael Keaton was great, but Michael Keaton is the only reason to watch it. I didn't like any of Rob Zombie's Halloween films. Again, the only movie that he's made that I liked was House of a Thousand Corpses, and that's only because it reminded me so much of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Thoughts on the Yakuza series? I've only managed to finish 2 of those because they get so repetitive and so boring. They just don't do it for me. $25. Oh. We have 2 hours remaining. There have been 0 donations. Do you think Valve already has prototypes of Half-Life 3? I don't think you should hold your breath. I think for them, Half-Life Alyx was Half-Life 3. Yeah, CM Punk is pretty much done. Short of maybe the indie scene, and I don't think that would be enough money for him to even bother. Yes, I like Friday the 13th Part 6. In fact, digitally I own 1 through 8 because Amazon had a special deal where you could get the first 8 films for $12, and so I did that a few weeks ago. Have I played Jaws on PS2? Yes. It's crappy, but it's a fun crappy. I didn't play Urban Reign on PS2. Thoughts on Hollywood's plans to remake They Live and The Crow? They Live should never be touched, and really I don't think The Crow should be touched neither. I think in both cases those are perfect the way they are, and they don't need remakes. Because you know what they'll do with They Live. They'll make Roddy Piper's character like a woman. Because that's going to, subvert expectations. Heck, I'm surprised that The Crow isn't going to be a woman in the next film. That really shocks me that we haven't gotten a woman crow yet. Not in the movies anyway. Thoughts on the Psycho movies? 1, 2, and 3 were interesting. A lot of people crap on 3, but there's some really cool kills in the 3rd one. Everything that came after that is trash, including the remake. Psycho 2 was better than people think. There's actually some good stuff in Psycho 2. Do you think we'll see Wolverine in 2024? I doubt it. Not unless it's being done by Insomniac's B team, the team that's normally working on Ratchet and Clank. Castaway was pretty good. I mean, it's slow, but it's pretty good. I don't care about fan films, Ultra Steel. John Carpenter's Vampires is good, yes. James Wood was great in that movie. I love James Wood in that movie. I don't think Vince McMahon necessarily killed wrestling by killing off the territories. I think he really killed wrestling after the Monday Night Wars. Ruthless Aggression era was okay, but everything that's come after that's been pretty much trash. Seventh, how much progress do we have towards getting 8th's new GPU? Still got a long ways to go. And I've only got till, December 15th to make it happen. Because that's when I get my first check of December. Seventh, do you like Bates Motel? No, I didn't care for it. What's your thoughts on people who think video games are for kids? Those people can suck it. If Phil Spencer really thinks that he's for the gamer, he should fire Todd Howard. Well, you're not wrong. Should fire most of the people in Activision that have been in charge of things too. Did you like James Woods as Hades? Yes. Who's more toxic, Tony Khan or Vince McMahon? Tony Khan is just a fanboy with a lot of daddy's money. So, Vince McMahon, way more toxic. Not that I even like the word toxic. It's a stupid phrase. Stupid usage of that word. Bates Motel just wasn't doing it for me. I watched 4 or 5 episodes of it and I wasn't getting into it. If Steve Austin never came back from his broken neck, would have WCW won the war? By that point, they had The Rock, so I still think they were on borrowed time. Action RPG recommendations for PS2, PS3, and PS4. Too long and complicated of a question, plus I've answered it before on previous 7thCasts. In bits and pieces. You'd have to piece it all together, but... General rule, if you ask me a list question, I'm really going to swerve around it because it takes too much thought and too much time to try to express it. I would literally have to sit here for 15 minutes making out a list, and I'm not going to do that. Seven, do you think Square Enix could add Marvel characters into a future Kingdom Hearts game? They'd probably have to pay another big chunk of money to Disney to get the rights to that. But I don't see why not. Wouldn't surprise me to see Star Wars stuff showing up a lot in it too. If Nomura even cared about either of those franchises. Oh, magic powers. Do you like Japanese wrestling or lucha libre? No, I don't really watch those. And I just now noticed that my microphone was way over to the right and not directly in front of me. Sorry about that, guys. What the hell? $75 from Table JFK. Table, you didn't need to do that, man. I appreciate it. I do, but you didn't have to do that. That's awesome, though. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Let me get you a dollar bill at least. There you go. Dollar bill, y'all. Everyone give an F for Table JFK. Let's show him an F. F for respect. F for respect for Table. Yeah, I'm surprised Sting hasn't retired earlier, especially after what Seth Rollins did to him. Good God. The fact that he ever got back in the ring. Oh, no, man. I doubt I'll be doing a review of Spider-Man 2. It just depends. You know, I might get back into doing reviews once I'm done with this Trey for Life thing. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. This is not me fishing for donations. This is not me fishing for sympathy. That series has taken a lot out of me. Because, you know, like, as an example, the Chris Chan documentary that's been going on forever. You know, it takes him a good long while between episodes to craft everything, get it together the way he wants it. I've been putting out a new episode every week since the summer. And the only way that I'm able to do that is I devote an entire off day to doing nothing but that. So tomorrow morning, I'll be getting up at 7 in the morning, doing all the voice work for my script, piecing everything together, and then once I have everything pieced together, then going back in and having to edit out all the F-bombs, even though they're demonetizing me anyway. All for something that's now averaging, 300 to 400 views because Viewpoint is burying it in the algorithm. And I'm very happy that you guys like it, But I was hoping that it would at least average 1,000 views an episode, and I haven't gotten it. And so, it feels like a whole hell of a lot of work and a major sacrifice that I've put out of my personal life to get it made, only for it to not really amount to a whole lot. And that's why I'm saying I don't know if I'll even bother with doing a season 2. Because season 2 is not going to have El Presidor in it. It's going to be me and a bunch of the N-Dub guys, and that's it. Because, once I took over, most of the Xbox Republic guys vanished off the face of the earth as far as YouTube went, and it was all about, the Wii and stuff. So I don't think it would be as entertaining of a series, and so much of it is gone now. My videos that I made responding to other people is pretty much all that's left. There's little bits and pieces out there, but I don't know that there'd be enough to where I could craft something that you guys would still like. And especially considering, 300 and 400 views. I could post a 10-minute taste of an indie game and get 300 or 400 views. Or as I was calling them the last time I did one, the digital dump. But y'all didn't watch any of those. Shadow Deist, F for respect is a Call of Duty reference. Does 8th like the Venom Spider-Man statue? Yeah, he was very happy with it. Yeah, almost everybody that came over from WCW to WWE, with the exception of Chris Benoit, got the short end of the stick. Booker T did okay, but still, it was at the cost of Triple H humiliating him. And I guess Goldberg has done all right there. At least with his second run. His first run ended in that horrible, horrible match with Lesnar. Yes, I think screw this whole, you got to give back to the business and all this stuff. Undertaker's streak should have never been defeated. He should have left undefeated streak. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Hogan versus Austin would have been a crap match. There's only so much Austin could do, especially when he was limited by that point by his neck injury. Yes, I like the Devil May Cry series. Yes, the second one is a very weak game. N64, PS1. PS1 all the way. Tactical nuke incoming. Remember that, 7th? No, I'm not really remembering what you're referencing there, Shadow. Anyone getting the 21 inches of Venom Sideshow statue? No. Rainstorm, 7th, how are you? I don't know what I missed. Just popped on, but same, I'm at work. Hey, Rain. How's it going? Hey, Rain. I don't use Facebook that much anymore. Do you use Facebook? I happened to be on it a couple, 2 weeks ago because an old friend of mine that lives up in Georgia messaged me on it. And I went on there, and Facebook said, people you may know. And one of the people came up with someone that I thought was maybe you. So I sent a message just saying thanks for the most recent donation. And I didn't know if you saw that or not, or if that was actually you. But don't think I was being weird or anything. It was just because you just happened to pop up in my you may know this person section. I don't really use Facebook anymore. I just got an email notification from my buddy in Georgia, who I've known since high school. I think he's trying to convince me to work for his company, but I think I'd rather stay where I'm at. I'm a guy that repays loyalty. The company's been good to me for 11 years, so even if someone came and offered me more money, I'd be disinclined to do it. Just is what it is. Goldberg was a sellout. Well, Goldberg was never really, a fan of the business anyway. He just did it because they told him he could make a lot of money. Do you think the Triple H and Booker T feud was racist? I don't think it was racist so much as it was just Triple H wanted to give the middle finger to most anybody that came over from WCW. Thoughts on Vince McMahon selling? Well, we knew it was going to come eventually. At one point, they were talking about selling to Disney. Wouldn't have that been grand? Do you think Jake the Snake should have held a title in WWF? Never anything more than the Intercontinental title. He didn't need it. Do you prefer the old... yes, I prefer the original series over the X Games. I just like them better. I think the bosses had more personality. And there was just something about the X Games that felt less unique. Tactical nuke from Call... Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to reference something that I had said at some point or something. Thoughts on Diddy Kong Racing? Never been big into kart racers, to be honest with you. I just picked up my 2 VIP Forever tickets, an after-hours party for Midwest Gaming Convention in April. Cost me $350. Midwest Gaming Convention. Where's that, Rain? Hey, 7th, who's more evil, Joker or Palpatine? I think Joker because, Palpatine at least has a plan. Palpatine thinks he's doing what needs to happen for the galaxy, whereas Joker has no plan. Joker's just chaos walking on 2 feet. Doing evil for the sake of just watching to see how people will react to it, more than having any kind of goal or something he's trying to earn for himself. Let me get down there. Goldberg's overrated. Would Brock Lesnar versus The Rock? Yeah, that would have been a good match. Let's see here. Do you think Well, during that general period, Brother Natural, the WWE was playing around with like tongue-in-cheek racism anyway. Like when that time Vince McMahon, because he thought he was in the in crowd, used the N word with an A. They were doing stuff like that back then anyway. What is the company your friend is doing? You don't need to know that, Zach. Thoughts on John? It's an IT job. Thoughts on John Moxley? He's okay. I kind of liked him better when he was doing a kind of a Roddy Piper-ish character in the WWE, even though he felt that wasn't true to what he should be doing. I still liked it better than what he's doing in AEW. Not that I watch a whole lot of it to begin with. Do you think AEW has changed the wrestling business? No, not really. They've just kind of filled the gap that was left by TNA, but they're doing it better than TNA did. From Rain, not on Facebook often, but maybe Facebook found out somehow we were friends on... I don't know if it was that or maybe they pulled it from PayPal. I don't know. It's one of the two. But anyway, if that was you, you have a message from me on there. Attitude Era WWE will never return thanks to the woke mob. Yeah, you're probably right. Milwaukee equals Midwest Gaming Convention. Is that where you live now, Rains? Milwaukee? Milwaukee, Wisconsin? Shabak, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. Da, 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 da. You're gonna do it. Anyway. I just showed my age. 7th, I expect you will bump into Scott Cawthon, FNAF creator, at some point. I seriously doubt I'll ever run into him. Not unless he shows up at a Retropalooza, and I very much doubt that'll happen. Plus, I don't like that series. And I would tell him so if I met him. Who's a meaner judge? Judge Judy or Simon Cowell or Steve Wilkos? I don't know who Steve is, and I don't watch the other two shows, so I couldn't tell you. Thoughts on Darby Allin? He's extremely skinny, which to me makes most of his offensive moves seem unrealistic at best. What's the funniest argument you ever saw on the Crumb side? I would have to agree. It was MVP. Especially if MVP had some alcohol in him. Good Lord. Once alcohol touched MVP's lips, all bets were off. Thoughts on the Saw game? It was just puzzles. I didn't like it. No, the Trey Brotherhood hasn't returned. It's still dead as a can of Spam. I haven't watched WWE in a decade, but I might watch due to LA Knight Hubba Hubba. Oh, you like LA Knight, do you? Most annoying bugs. Any bug that breaks the game and forces me to have to restart from a save point. Hey, 7th. Thoughts on the upcoming Scream? Don't give a crap. I never thought that series should have had sequels. Because all the sequels have been dumb. The stretching that they have to do to justify why another person is wearing the mask again. And people are still trying to figure out who it is and falling into the same old traps again. It's dumb. Do you think Darth Plagueis should have been in the Star Wars movies? Yes. I think the most disturbing thing I saw on the Crumb side was someone pissing on a PS4. That was just gross. I've unfortunately seen a lot grosser table. I'm just saying. On YouTube. Thoughts on the Hotline Miami series? Never got into it. Yes, I've been here entire life minus my 6 years living in Germany. Oops, well then maybe that wasn't the right person I sent a Facebook message to. The person I sent a Facebook message to had the same name as you, but said that they had lived in France and had worked in France, but was at the time living in Houston. And I thought you had mentioned at one point that you'd been to France and that you had a teaching job or something, and so I thought that was you. So I guess I maybe sent a message to the wrong person. Hey, 7th, who's skinnier, Spike Dudley or Darby? I think Darby Allin. No, I don't give a crap about the Scream video game. We have a Fonzie lifestyle statue on our Riverwalk. Interesting. Thoughts on Knight Rider? I liked it. I've tried to go back and watch it for nostalgia, and I couldn't because it's not as good as I remember it being, but I liked it. 7th, what was the heaviest thing you could lift? In the past, could you see yourself as a UPS guy? When I was younger, I could have done the UPS gig. Not now. I think the most I ever lifted at one point was like 225, 250, somewhere around it. I can't really remember. It was when I was in high school and they forced us to do like a weightlifting thing for gym class. Do you like Batman Arkham Knight? Not really, too much Batmobile. Thoughts on Edge leaving WWE and joining AEW? Don't care. Like I said, I haven't been into wrestling in years. Is Mike Awesome one of the most tragic wrestling stories? Well, it some of the stuff he brought on himself, some of it not. What are your thoughts on daycare women scaring children with the Scream mask? I hadn't seen anything about that, Zachary, but sounds like a pretty crappy thing to do. Do you think John Tenta and Lex Luger should be in the WWE Hall of Fame? Never was particularly fond of either one of them. Yeah, I heard about Bray Wyatt. 7th, Spike Dudley versus Rick Ross. Who's the boss? I don't know who Rick Ross is. Nope, but I was in Paris, France for Euro Disney twice. Oh, well, I guess I sent something. I sent something to the wrong person. Rain, my bad. It was mainly just me thanking you for being a long-time viewer. That's all it was. Normally wouldn't have done it at all because, again, I don't really use Facebook, and I try to avoid, aside from Twitter, messaging people on their social medias because I don't want to come across as weird. I let people come to me for the most part. but it popped up. You may know this person. It was the same name, so it is what it is. Seventh, what classic Capcom game would you want to be rebooted? Usually my go-to on that is Bionic Commando, but the last time they rebooted it, man, I don't know if I could live through that again. Don't forget Milwaukee is the home of Harley Davidson. Yes, indeed. Never been to Milwaukee. Never been there. Favorite PS1 game? Ooh. I kind of want to say Alundra. Maybe Breath of Fire 3? Too much Batmobile. Seventh fans complained so much that the Batmobile wasn't in the prior games. Well, I'm just saying Arkham Knight had way too much Batmobile. Seventh, do you think Neon from Clownfish TV on YouTube seems like a cool geek to hang out with? He seems to know a lot like you. Well, I don't know because I've never hung out with him. I've never had a negative interaction with him on Twitter. Same thing for his wife. What does she call herself? Geeky Sparkles. Never had a negative interaction with her on Twitter either. Do you think Capcom will remake Dino Crisis after they finish Resident Evil? Would be nice. I mean, again, to me, it's just another survival horror game. But, if they made it more actiony and play more like a third-person shooter like they've done with some of the other Resident Evil remakes, I could see it. Yeah, I could totally see it. Thoughts on the re-release of Cyberpunk? No physical PS5 version? Come on. Give us a Game of the Year or something native PS5 version with the DLC built in. I'd buy that. Sam Elliott is a very good actor. Legend of Dragoon is one of my favorite Japanese RPGs on PS1. I never said it was my favorite PS1 game. Seventh, what is Sony going to do? What is Sony going to buy to counter Activision being bought by Xbox? I don't think they're going to buy anything to directly counter it. I don't think you're going to hear about them buying EA or something. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Yes, I like Danny Elfman's music. Even his band music with Oingo Boingo. I liked that stuff even. Thoughts on the Joker movie? It was okay. Even though it was just a rip-off of Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy. I have no interest in the second one because everyone keeps saying it's a musical. You can have that. I ain't partaking in that. Thoughts on Hyde from that '70s show going to prison? Well, I mean, if the allegations are true, then he deserved it. Hard to say nowadays, but Legend of Dragoon is not on rails. Legend of Dragoon is a Japanese RPG. You're thinking of Panzer Dragoon. The first two were on rails. The third Panzer Dragoon was Panzer Dragoon Saga, which was a RPG. Seventh, I hope Sony buys Koei Tecmo. You never can be sure with Japanese companies because their rules for buying other companies are a lot different than the U.S. So we'll see. Right now, it seems like Sony's strategy is more along the lines of buying into companies. Like they bought into Epic and they've bought into Katakawa, the company that owns FromSoft, stuff like that. Rain, if you forgot my PSID. Uh, Rain, message me on PSN to remind me of what your PSN ID is. Thoughts on YouTube giving Sniper Wolf a slap on the wrist? I don't think she should be on the platform. That's just me. That's some pretty stalkery crap. Going to somebody's house and filming it and basically saying, "Hey, audience of millions, here's where this guy lives. It'd be terrible if somebody was to come out here and do something." Bungie was the biggest purchase they've made, to my knowledge, as far as buying another game developer. Who's stronger, Symbiote, Venom, or Carnage? I think Carnage is more powerful. Alundra was a lot of fun. Alundra 2 was dog crap, though. Alundra 2 was terrible. Was not good at all. Very disappointing. I was so upset because I went out there. I found out when Alundra 2 was coming out. I went out there and I bought it sight unseen. It was a day one buy for me. I take it home. Crap. I'm surprised Sony or Microsoft haven't bought Sega Sammy yet. I think the more likely scenario, if either of them were going to buy it, it'd be Microsoft. But again, I have to go through an awful lot of red tape to buy a Japanese company at this point. Although technically, Sega was more like an American company that operated out of Japan in a lot of ways, but they're now owned by Sammy, and they're just like a part of the whole Sega Sammy Atlas thing. But I think if somebody was going to buy them between the two, Microsoft would be the more obvious one because they've had a longer working relationship with Microsoft, really. Bye, Rain. See you later. Why has Nintendo not bought Sega? Because they don't need to. Sega does partnerships with them without having to own them. Who's the best, worst movie director? Best would probably go to Scorsese or Spielberg. Worst would be Ed Wood. Sonic versus Mario. Overall, Mario. There's been way more Mario games I liked than Sonic games I liked. Wasn't Sega founded by two World War... I don't know if they were veterans or not, but it was founded by Americans. Started out as a business that rented out coin-based amusement machines for like Coney Island and places like that. Do you think Disney will buy Warner Brother? I don't know if they'd be allowed to buy them. And right now, they're not really in a financial position to do so because they're losing money hand over fist. 7th, do you think Freddy vs. Jason wasn't as good because it spent too much time on the human... Well, you'd have to have human characters because those are the victims. And you're not going to care about them getting killed unless you have character development. I mean, think about it. If you go back and watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street, technically speaking, Freddy is barely in it. You see more of Nancy than you do anybody else. For all intents and purposes, Nightmare on Elm Street is Nancy's movie, and Freddy is just a character in it. If you think about it. Thoughts on the original voice actor for Mario retiring? Don't really care. I don't have any nostalgia for that. Mario didn't have a voice when I was playing, started playing Mario games. What do you think of Meshuggah? I'm not into that style of metal. Enemy TV, what's up, 7th? Portland Retro Gaming Expo was awesome. Well, glad you had fun. Thank you, Rain. $10 from Rainstorm. Thank you. Appreciate you. No, Osama bin Laden didn't die of kidney failure. Thoughts on Disney canceling Snow White? That hasn't been confirmed. I think a lot of that came from the fact that, as I understand it, what really happened was she got fired from Paddington 3 or something, and someone misunderstood that as her getting fired from Snow White. There's been a lot of people in that geeks and gamers community claiming that she got fired, but there hasn't been any confirmation of that. Just like there hasn't been any confirmation of that stuff that Doomcock was talking about weeks ago, where there were Disney executives that had taken over Lucasfilm, and they were going through all the records, and the Acolyte was going to be canceled, and the showrunner for the Acolyte had been fired, and Kathleen Kennedy was going to be brought up on charges of financial fraud, and then all of a sudden, everyone in that community stopped talking about it. And don't answer questions about it anymore. I'm just saying. I don't really put a whole lot of stock into what that particular group of people do. I like watching Doomcock because he's funny, and every now and again he hits the nail on the head like he did with Indy 5. But I take everything that he says with an extreme grain of salt. A seventh, was Pac-Man inspired? That's a dumb question. What is your favorite time period? The 80s. As far as history goes, ancient history, the Sumerians, the Egyptians. Seventh, you said you're in Texas, Austin or Houston. I'm in the Austin area. I'm in Wichita Falls. Okay. Seventh, thoughts on Daily Wire's version of Snow White. Couldn't give less of a crap. Thoughts on the Tintin movie. Eighth really liked it. I thought it was technically impressive at the time, but for the most part, it bored me. Eighth still likes it, though, to this day. Mike Zero versus Doomcock. Who's more full of shit? Mike Zero. Because Mike Zero literally just makes things up off the top of his head. I have no idea why anyone would watch his material, because he's never right on anything and never has been. Doomcock at least gets things right every so often and is funny. Mike Zero is not funny. Thoughts on the Ahsoka live-action series. It had some cool moments, but for the most part, it was pretty disappointing. Who should be the next James Bond, Cavill or Pattinson? I think either one could do it, but I've already seen Henry Cavill do The Man from U.N.C.L.E., so I know he can do that style. So I would like to see Cavill have a shot. I don't care for Snow White because I'm a 48-year-old man. I like some of the Disney movies from the Renaissance era. Some of the really old stuff like Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, I don't really care for. Oh! A seventh, weird question. What's the fastest you've ever driven in a car? 125 miles an hour. Should Damon Wayans be in the next James Bond? Absolutely not. Dear God. No. 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 Some of the stuff y'all come up with, I swear. I have to wonder about y'all. Fastest I've driven is 112 because my car won't go any faster than that. I drive a Challenger. It can get on up there. When I lived in Florida, I had a Camaro. And my parents at the time were alive and they lived 3 hours away. And they'd want me to come down and see them on the weekend. And, I didn't want to have to put any more time into that than I absolutely had to. So every time I drove down there, I'd find some other sports car driver. Oh.
My dog.
Give you your dog?
Yeah.
You get your own dog. Right? You can come in and get her. Bye, Alex. Bye. Anyway, I'd get out on the highway and I'd find somebody else driving a sports car, and we would just take turns being on point, and we'd zip down there going over 100 miles an hour. And, that's the way we did it, to keep an eye on cops. So, I'd be in the lead for a little bit, then he'd come in front of me and be in the lead for a little bit, stop at a rest stop, say hello, get to know each other, then get back out on the road, and then we'd part ways once, the first one of us to get to wherever we were going. Happened every time I drove down there, and never got caught speeding the whole time. And I've been over 100 here in Texas. I don't make a habit of it, but it's happened on occasion where I felt the need to get around somebody, and so I'd briefly get up to that speed to get around them. Sorry I'm fashionably late to the party, 7th. Well, I'm sorry too, Clean Frame, because that means that you have to pay a fine. Right there. Pay a fine. I'm just kidding. Yes, 8th made a brief cameo. Did you like the Matrix films? First one was great. Second and third one were kind of meh. The fourth one was god-awful. Never watched the fourth one. Do you think Doomcock and... No, they're not the same person. Doomcock has actually been on camera without the Doomcock mask. I mean, he was wearing like a Lucha Libre mask, but, you got to hear him without the alteration to his voice. Definitely not the same person. I don't know why you would think he was. Is 8th dog named Alex, or Alex? Alyx, after the character from Half-Life. Who's worse, Todd Howard or Neil Druckmann? Todd Howard, under his leadership, Bethesda has always been the way Bethesda is. And so you just come to expect the Todd Howard effect. Whereas Neil Druckmann came into what was a top-tier studio and just turned it into garbage. So for me, it's Druckmann. Thoughts on the Portal games? That's more of 8's thing than mine. Did you ever try out for paintball back in the day? I did some paintballing with a friend of mine when I lived up in Tennessee. One time we had a paintball fight in an old abandoned school out in an area called East Lake. And it was really creepy because everything was kind of black from age. And the building was falling apart. It was a really stupid thing for us to do because any one of us could have walked onto a piece of rotten floor and fallen through it at any given time. But what made it really spooky was it ended up that there was like hobos living in there. And we didn't know it and stumbled upon one by accident. And we just kind of hauled ass out of there. But up until that point, it was fun. I don't care if you did or not, Shadow. You didn't find it out from me. There's actually an old factory not far from where I live, but it's entirely closed off to the public. Well, so was that school. Didn't stop us from getting into it, though. Was it legal? No. Was it fun? Yeah. What's the worst movie that made you walk out of the theater? I don't know that I've ever walked out of a theater for anything. I mean, I saw Kung Pao at the theater, and I sat through the whole thing. That should tell you. If I buy a ticket, I'm going to watch it. Just so I feel like I at least got the money's worth of watching a film. My parents, on the other hand, were not the same way. Like one time they took me to a movie. It starred Fred Ward, the guy from Remo Williams and Tremors. And it was a time travel thing where this guy on this experimental motorcycle goes back in time into the Old West. It was an 80s movie. Can't remember the name of it. And like 15 minutes into it, my parents yanked me up and left because my mother said that there was too much bad language in it. Whatever. Favorite Dragon Age game? The original. Solid Rev is not a crime scene cleaner. Has a woman ever bitten her lip while staring you down? Yes. Licked her lips too. Kung Pao was terrible. It had funny moments, but, those kind of funny moments at feature length, that was an endurance test. I didn't see Thor Love and Thunder at the theater. I waited for it to hit Disney Plus. I had a ghost claw my arm in Gatlinburg. I used to have a picture of it, but I don't think I have the picture anymore. I wish I could have walked out of The Last Jedi. Can there be too many dirty words in a movie? Well, it doesn't affect me, but it affected my mom back in the day. I mean, this was a woman that made me watch. She had just been told by one of the ladies at her church that there was too much bad language and dirty jokes in Ghostbusters. So she allowed me to rent it, but I had to watch the whole movie with the volume turned all the way down, and they didn't have subtitles on there. Or at least my VCR didn't have the functionality to display them. So I had to watch Ghostbusters without having any clue what they were saying the first time I watched it. I got so pissed off about it that I arranged for my friend down the street to rent it so I could go to his house and watch it with the volume turned on. What was the worst game you've experienced while playing? Probably Irritating Stick. Although that Black Tiger game, Life of Black Tiger, that was on up there too. What's your unhumble opinion of IGN? I don't pay attention to them. Either that or she wanted to eat me, Brother Natural. Might have been a vampire. Who knows? You never can tell. Might have been a Fright Night situation in the making, and I just didn't know it. I'm having a bad stomach day today. That sucks, because I had been feeling pretty good the last couple of days. Thoughts on ActRaiser. First one was excellent. One of the best games on Super Nintendo. Second one is dog crap. I was an adult by the time South Park came along. My parents didn't have any say in it one way or another at that point. Now, keep in mind, my dad didn't care. You know, movie could have, you know, every other word an F-bomb, TNA all over the place. He wouldn't have cared. It was my mom. My mom was the one that had issue with it. She was a big churchgoer and everything. She came from the generation where boys and girls weren't allowed to swim in the same swimming pool type thing. Yeah. Yeah. My young life was pretty well cushioned, let's say, sheltered. My first several years of life. And then once I got to be about 11, my dad started taking me on, 9 to 11, my dad started taking me on patrol, and I started seeing some of the darker side of the world. And once I reached teenagerhood, I wasn't going to let her dictate anything anymore. And so, you know, I rented what I wanted to rent, I watched what I wanted to watch, and I hung out with who I wanted to hang out with, and that was it. Yes, Clean Frame, the next episode will be the finale. Thoughts on Phantom Dust on the original Xbox? Never did care for it. Wasn't my type of game. Wasn't my type of game at all. No. Do you think bad business practices from game companies will ever stop? No, not really. What'll happen is if we speak with our wallets on some things, they'll steer away from that and just find some other way to screw us over. It's just the way it goes. Kind of like how in the Xbox One era, Microsoft stepped back off of all the DRM stuff that caused them to lose that generation. And then once the Series S and the Series X came out, they went right back to it. Right back to it. Because they figured by then, everyone would accept it. What's your favorite horror film that isn't a series? Oh. Well, I would say The Thing, but they made a crappy prequel to that, didn't they? Having a hard time thinking of one. To be honest. Ugh. Thoughts on the Turok games? Do you mean Turok? Turok? They're alright. Haven't aged very well. Thoughts on the Hellraiser movie? Also, would you be in favor of Freddy vs. Jason vs. Pinhead? Well, Pinhead was originally supposed to show up at the very end of Freddy vs. Jason, but they couldn't get the rights. I only like Hellraiser 1 and 2. I think everything else has been pretty much trash. The reboot from a couple of years ago that was on Hulu, it was okay. Or a year ago or whenever it was. What was your preamble that I missed? I was just talking about Spider-Man 2. I never watched Human Centipede. Is it any good? Not really. Hey, Seventh, were you around during the Ted Bundy killings? Yeah, but I was a kid. $5 from Living Legend. Thank you, Living Legend. Seventh, have you recently played Pumpkin Jack? Yeah. In fact, maybe a year ago, I did a 7thCast where I streamed Pumpkin Jack. 14 of you showed up. You weren't one of them. Dollar bill for Rain and for Living Legend. Are you looking forward to the Prey sequel on Hulu? I no longer have Hulu, so the answer to that would be no. Thoughts on Pumpkinhead? First one was okay. Everything that came after that, it had Lance Henriksen, so it was going to be good. Although Lance has been in some pretty bad low-budget stuff. Did you like the Jeffersons? I did when I was a kid. That and Good Times. Watch them in reruns. I think it was on WGN out of Chicago. Once we got cable. Who would win in a fight, Freddy or Pennywise the Clown? Probably Pennywise. Although their powers are very similar. Yes, I think Duke Nukem Forever should have been released further back in the day. Skipped my question. Did The Shocker have any sequels? Not that I know of. I mean, I've given out The Shocker more than once. Thoughts on The Ring? I actually liked the American version better than the Japanese original. Do you like Papa John's? Only if I have lots and lots of that garlic dipping sauce. What's your favorite pizza place? A little local place down the street called Nicky's. It's New York style. It's good. Is the Grudge series any good? First one's good. The rest of them are crap. Oh, my neck. My neck's a popping. My neck's a popping. I'm in bad shape, y'all. My back's hurting. I'm having stomach pains, but at least it's not a stomach attack. And now my neck's a popping. Thoughts on the Darksiders games? I liked the first one all right, and the second one was okay. I never finished them. I haven't played the third one. Eighth liked it. Do you own any rare comic books? I don't own any comic books. I sold my entire collection back around 2005. Sold them to a guy at a flea market for $500. I had several long boxes full. Enough to fill up the back of a truck bed. All I could get out of them was $500. Because stuff, most of what I had was from the 90s, and the 90s stuff wasn't worth nothing. Did you watch Beavis and Butthead? Yeah. You should do some daily stretching exercises. Yes, I probably should. At this point, I've probably got some fused vertebrae in there somewhere. Probably. Why didn't you like The Grudge 2? I just didn't think it was scary, and I thought the plot was overly convoluted. I heard the reason the second Dumb and Dumber sucked was because the first one was too good. No, it's just that Dumb and Dumber 2, the real Dumb and Dumber 2, not the prequel, was too dumb due to its plot. And a lot of it was just rehashing and remixing things that happened in the first one. So, and plus they waited too long to make it. So it felt like they were just looking for a paycheck. What's the worst horror movies in your opinion? Most of the horror movies that I've watched that I thought were bad are ones that I don't even remember the names of them because of how bad they are. One exception to that, the horror movie Sinister. I know a lot of people really like it. I thought it was dull and boring as hell. I have really had to force myself to make it all the way through that movie. It almost put me to sleep. 7th, do you think the first Evil Dead is supposed to be the scariest film in the franchise? Well, it was the only one out of the original trilogy that took itself seriously. You know, the second and third one were horror comedies, whereas the first one, they were trying to make a legit horror movie. And yeah, it doesn't really hold up because of the budget and the dated effects. But you know, it's supposed to be the scariest one because it was the only one out of the original three that were trying to do legit horror. I think really the scariest one out of the whole bunch was probably the 2013 remake. Or reboot or whatever you wanted to call it. Is it easy for you to spot a disingenuous person? In real life, yes. On the internet, sometimes not. But I usually have a decent eye about it. Well, we'll agree to disagree, Shadow Deist. I thought 2 and 3 were both horse crap. Thoughts on the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie? I was with it until it got to that nonsensical ending. Did you play the Evil Dead 2 game on PS2? I played both of the Evil Dead games on the PS2. They were so-so. Yes, I've seen all 3 of the Conjuring films. No, I didn't like Get Out. It's so... I liked his most recent one, the one on the horse ranch with the giant space alien thing flying overhead. I liked it. Nope. I liked Nope. I didn't care for Get Out, and I didn't care for Us. The main thing that took me out of Us was her walking around. I couldn't take her seriously doing that voice. It was just... Every time she opened her mouth and started talking like that, I just cracked up laughing. I couldn't take it seriously. It's so weird that horror movie franchises branch off into comedy sequels. Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw, Nightmare. Is it because people get desensitized and stop being scared? I don't know. It was just a more popular thing back then. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is one of my favorite horror films ever. Thoughts on the Hitman games? Once again, Don't like stealth games. At least one person asks me about Hitman every 7th cast, and I have the same answer every 7th cast. Don't play stealth games. No, I didn't play Hades. 7th, should Sony buy the Final Fantasy IP? Why would they? Why would they? 7th, that voice was funny. Okay. Do you think WWE screwed over Matt Hardy? Probably. Ash is the only horror hero that I truly like because mixing action with horror is a tightrope to walk. I also like Nancy as a hero. Although she kind of got the short end of the stick with part 3 a little bit. Texas Chainsaw 2 is one of the most memeable horror movies ever made. It has so many good lines in it. I love it. Chop Top is one of my favorite horror characters of all time. I didn't like any of the purges. I thought they're dumb. Thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII Remake? I've answered that before. It's okay. Have you seen the Dark Side of the... I've seen every episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Chop Top was a Beetlejuice ripoff? Yeah, I think you're wrong on that one, Shadow. Let's test my theory. Yeah, Beetlejuice came out after Texas Chainsaw 2, Shadow. So technically, in your theory, Beetlejuice would actually be a ripoff of Chop Top and not the other way around. Just saying. You should put a banner on the back of your wall that reads, "Don't play stealth games." You're not wrong. Tommy Jarvis. Yeah. Although he was kind of wasted. He just kind of disappeared after the 6th one. Have you seen that 90s show? No, and I don't plan to. Thoughts on Final Fantasy 11? Didn't play it because it was an online game. I skipped from 10 to 12. Any idea why Transformers live-action films started to suck after the first one? I liked the first one and the third one. I thought everything else was kind of garbage. Bumblebee was okay. It was so-so. Thoughts on the Oddworld games? Never got into them. Did you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation? No, that's the one with Matthew McConaughey in it, and it is garbage. It's terrible. Thoughts on The Hills Have Eyes? Never really cared for them because it was just another. It was kind of like wannabe Texas Chainsaw in a way, sort of. Only they added in the whole nuclear element to it, but it was still like, inbred weirdos out in the middle of nowhere type horror movie. Thoughts on Final Fantasy 12? I really like Final Fantasy 12. It's one of my favorites. I've beat it multiple times. I always wondered what happened to the psychic girl from Friday the 13th Part 7. It's a shame she only lasted one movie. Do you have any Killzone stuff in your collection? I have a Hellgast action figure, and I have the collector's edition of Killzone 3 that has the helmet with the pipes coming out of it and whatnot. Hills Have Eyes was way older than Wrong Turn, Shadow. Man, that's 2 for 2 you've gotten wrong with the dates. Hills Have Eyes was like late 70s, early 80s, the original one, not the remake. Wrong Turn was 2000s, man. Chainsaw Massacre 3D. Don't think I've seen that. Thoughts on the Max Payne remake that's apparently being made from the ground up? Don't know until I play it, son. What's your favorite holiday? Christmas. Thoughts on The Crow? The Crow's fantastic, especially the soundtrack. 7th, is it true that if one wants to overcome a phobia, one should try conversion? Did I get a psychiatry degree and somehow never know about it? Somebody let me know. I'm pretty sure I've always stated that I work in the IT field. Maybe? Thoughts on Killzone 3? It was better than Killzone 2. Favorite Jack Black film? Oh, Lord. Honestly, Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny. I ended up getting that Killzone 3 Collector's Edition on clearance for like $50 from a GameStop, if I remember right. Either that or $50 at Retropalooza, one of the two. But I paid $50 for it. For whatever reason, that one never went up in value. It's still a question that I wouldn't have the answer for, Ultra Steel, because I'm not a shrink. You ask me some weird shit sometimes, man. Not trying to be mean, just saying. See ya, high for life, or high five for life, whatever. What did you give Tomba out of 7 when it came out? Nothing, because I wasn't reviewing games back then. 7th, where do you know Matthew? I never said I knew Matthew McConaughey. Never claimed that. Oh, look what I missed. Y'all weren't watching. Technically 45 minutes left, not an hour left. Thoughts on Kick-Ass? Comic was pretty good. First movie was pretty good. Second movie was trash. I'm just saying. Somebody got to say it. Did you like I've never seen it. Magic powers. Man, maybe I'm retaining water or something today. My face looks all puffy and shit compared to how it normally looks. You can see I've got some more of that red blotching on my face. Getting old is weird, y'all. But hey, at least aside from these and these, I ain't got no wrinkles. I'm doing pretty good in that department. Doing pretty good in the hair department. Doing pretty good in the gray, aside from the beard. I definitely don't think I look nearly 50. But again, I think that's just simply because of the fact that I rarely ever get out in the sunlight. So I don't have as much ultraviolet radiation aging my skin. It'll probably hit me all at once. It's like I'll wake up when I turn 50 and I'll look 60 when I wake up. Yeah, I lost another 6 pounds, Shadow Deist. From last week to this week, I lost another 6 pounds. Slowly but surely. I have Callisto Protocol. I haven't played Callisto Protocol because, again, don't do the survival horror that much. At least you don't have a Triple H forehead. You're not wrong. Seventh, I noticed your hair is combed back this time around. Do you feel more comfortable like that, or do you prefer it loose and unencumbered? That's just because uh, when if I don't blow dry my hair, when I get out of the shower, I will comb it straight back and then comb it off to the sides to straighten it out. Because if I don't do that, by the time it dries itself, it'll be like I'll have like all sorts of curls going all the way up. It gets really, really super wavy. And so, like, even right now, it's got a shine to it like it's wet, even though it's not. It's dry, but if I blow dry it, it'll have this dead dry look to it. So I just let it air dry instead of blow drying it nowadays. Thanks for asking me about my beauty regimen, Ultra Steel. Seventh, do you think you'll still need to sleep in your recliner if you lose more weight? I don't think that has anything to do with my weight. That just has to do with my back. And, my back, the pain there, I'm hoping will, go down some once I've lost more of this gut. But I think at this point that I've got fused vertebrae, and so, losing weight ain't gonna fix that. There's ways to get around knots. My hair gets in knots, but I can get around that without ripping my hair out. You just got to have the right kind of brush. I never thought I'd see the day where I was giving hair advice on the 7thCast. What the hell, Ultra Still? Are you surprised Billy Gunn is still wrestling given his age? Well, I mean, for his age, he's in good shape, so I kind of get it, but yeah, he's getting on up there. But look at Ric Flair. Ric Flair was not in the shape for wrestling, and look how long he wrestled. He was not in the shape for it at all. I'm wondering what I'm going to watch when this is over, because I'm not really feeling getting back into Spider-Man tonight, because I know I got to get up at 7 in the morning to do that episode, and that episode's going to be a beast. I mean, the whole the storyline of the series of events of what the last episode of this Trey for Life is very involved, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be very exhausted and sore from the amount of time I'm going to be sitting in this chair tomorrow. No, I've never met Eric Bischoff, because tomorrow's episode is about the Trey Civil War. And that's a lot to cover. That's an awful lot to cover, but I don't want to split it into multiple episodes. So I'm just going to have my work cut out for me tomorrow. That's just all there is to it. And then after that, I'll be able to take a break. I mean, it's not like it's going to affect my numbers. I'm getting shit numbers anyway. Bye, Ben. 80s Tron or Tron Legacy? Too close to call, man. I really love 80s Tron, but Tron Legacy was so good. A lot of people crap on it, but I really liked it, especially the soundtrack and the effects. Oh man, seeing that at the theater was an experience. I saw it in 3D. It was tremendous. It was tremendous. Going to the store to get Diablo 4. Mine's sitting on the shelf. I just haven't played it yet. Why didn't you like the ending to Tim Burton Planet of the Apes? Because it didn't really make any sense. The ending to the original Planet of the Apes made sense. He thought he was on a totally different planet, but he was actually on Earth of the future. Whereas in this one, In the Tim Burton one, he ends up on a planet that's Earth of the future. He leaves said planet, and then he ends up in the past of an Earth from the future that's been changed and the monkeys have taken over. Which I get what it was trying to say. It was trying to say that somehow Tim Roth's character, who was trapped at the end of that movie, had somehow managed to go back in time and change the timeline and turn it into a time travel alternate future thing. And it was just dumb. Thoughts on the Telltale Walking Dead series? Well, I'm not a fan of Walking Dead, so obviously I wasn't a fan of the games. Did you like the Warriors movie? And the video game was okay. As I've stated multiple times, I'm not a fan of the movie. To me, it's just cheesy and dumb. You know, you got guys walking around in like mime makeup, wearing baseball outfits and stupid crap. It's stupid. It's a dumb movie. The Warriors, to me, feels like what Escape from New York might have been if it was made by Tim Burton. And it just wasn't good. I didn't like it. Warriors, come out to play. Hey. I'm sorry for writing a paragraph. I had to get it off my chest. Oh, well, that's okay, Clean Frame, because I didn't read it. Hold on. I swore when I hit 100 platinums, I would slow down on platting games, but at 85, I'm thinking of just platting games I truly have fun with. What do you think? I'm at 173, 172, something like that, and I don't really pay that much attention to it nowadays. I only got up that high because I was trying to beat Shady J, which I did. Well, it was platformers on PC trash back in the day because gamepad functionality wasn't that great back in the day, and plus they had a hard time with getting side scrolling working properly on a PC until one of the guys at Epic Mega Games figured it out with what was it, Jazz Jackrabbit? I mean, Duke Nukem was side-scrolling, but they had that stuttering that PC side-scrollers had back in the day, but they kind of figured it out with Jazz Jackrabbit. I don't remember if that was Cliffy that figured that out or who it was, but did you like the remake of The Hills Have Eyes? I never watched the remake because I wasn't a huge fan of the original. Yeah, Dumbo was kind of crap. Although, out of all the Disney live-action remakes, that's probably one of the ones I hate the least. Is it true that it's a bad idea to lay consoles and heavy objects on top of other devices like consoles, VHS? As long as the objects on top aren't heavy, it's fine. Well, it kind of depends. Like, I wouldn't lay anything on top of an electronic component unless that electronic component had a metal casing, like a VCR. And even then, you'd have to be careful because of the potential of covering up the exhaust, the heat dissipation vents. So it really just depends on the piece of equipment you're talking about. Did Kojima rip off Escape from New York? In a way. Solid Snake he said this before, Solid Snake was inspired, at least visually, by Snake Plissken from the Escape series. Do you feel like it was stupid for YouTube to remove the dislike button? Yes. But then again, I also think it was stupid of YouTube to remove the ability to fully customize the look of your channel page, and I think it was stupid to get rid of the response video button. Have you ever used GameFly? I don't use it as a rental service, but I buy used games from it all the time. Did you ever watch Amadeus? Yeah, Amadeus is one of my favorite movies. Love that movie. Seen it dozens of times. Why would someone hide their trophies from their PSN? To cover up the fact that they haven't actually beaten the games that they talk trash about on Twitter and YouTube. Who is your favorite video game auteur? I don't really have one. To be honest with you, I couldn't care less about the names of the developers. You know, I've never fallen into this whole developer as a rock star thing. You know, I respect Miyamoto. That's about it. If I was going to pick one just out of pure entertainment factor, I'd have to say Richard Garriott, a.k.a. Lord British. Because, man, he's hilarious. Some of the stupid stuff that comes out of that man's mouth and some of the stupid decisions that he's made over the course of his life, he's entertainment. He is solid gold entertainment right there. Hardest plat you did on PS3 and PS4? On PS3, probably the original Infamous, because that last boss fight on hard mode was a pain in the butt. I don't know. I couldn't really tell you PS4. Favorite John Carpenter film? Big Trouble in Little China, closely followed by Christine, closely followed by The Thing. Those are my top three. I know who Solid Snake is. That doesn't mean that I like the game. Keep on trying, Shadowhood. Thoughts on MJF? Don't really watch AEW that much. I know who he is because of CM Punk, but otherwise, if it wasn't for CM Punk, I'd have no idea who he was. Did we ever learn how bad the Sony hack was? No, and because of the fact that it didn't become some huge news story, I'd say it wasn't all that significant. As far as the most recent one from a few weeks back. No, I never wanted to be a pro wrestler. What was my first platinum? X-Men Origins Wolverine. Are you a fan of Harry Nilsson's music? I remember Spencer Nilsson. I don't know about Harry Nilsson. Thoughts on Chris Jericho? Talented wrestler, funny on the mic, puts out not spectacular but decent rock music. I mean, he's had at least one song that I liked, Judas in My Mind or whatever. I kind of like that song. It's got a nice hook to it. Speaking of music, I'll let you in on a little secret. Grindhead Jim might not like to hear this. I'm not a fan of death metal or black metal. Don't like them. Don't like them at all. I mean, the guitar work is okay on some of them. Some of the bands actually put in some work in actual soloing and structure and progression, but for me, death metal is and black metal, especially Norwegian black metal, is And so, to me, they're both kind of the same thing, and I just don't like them. Thrash metal, is in like Megadeth, Metallica, and whatnot. Yes, I like those because at least a lot of them actually try to sing. Dave Mustaine, James Hetfield, I'm just saying. I mean, have you ever sat and tried to listen to Mayhem? Satan! It's dumb shit, man. And just trying to, play chords as fast as possible. The story of what happened in Norwegian black metal is more entertaining than Norwegian black metal. Mario and Luigi or Paper Mario? Mario and Luigi. Thoughts on Perry Saturn? I haven't followed him after WCW. 7th, how does it feel to have a son that plats the games the same day they come out? Your son's a superhuman. I am very proud of 8th as a gamer. The singers in death metal growl like dogs reminds me of the Sin boss theme in Final Fantasy X. I mean, what kind of talent is really involved in Reggie? What's the talent in singing like that? I don't get it. Norwegian black metal sounded like Eric Cartman. You're not wrong. What would you rather do? Play Hannah Montana for a month straight, or watch nothing but Mr. Nanny and the Room for a month straight? Oh, I'd watch Mr. Nanny and the Room before I play Hannah Montana again. Are you a glam rock kind of guy? No. I'm a 70s and 80s rock and punk rock and hard rock / new metal from 2000 to 2010 kind of guy. Death metal is Scooby-Doo being possessed by a demon, basically. More or less. Why does the mainstream audience love the Last of Us games? Because they love The Walking Dead, and it reminds them of The Walking Dead. That's why they like it. Thoughts on Luigi's Mansion 2 coming to the Switch? Did 8th already plat Spider-Man 2? He hasn't plat it, but he beat it in 10.5 hours on the hardest difficulty. Re-upload all too easy. I don't know what you're talking about. What video is that? The Last of Us was inspired by Resident Evil and Uncharted. Well, they don't really feel like either one. They feel more like The Walking Dead. All Too Easy was a video you made back in 2010 before the Civil War saga. I don't remember which one you're talking about. I remember making one called The Easiest Ownage There Ever Was, but I don't remember one called All Too Easy. Let me look in my 7th archive folder here. I don't see one called All Too Easy. I don't see one. I could check. Where's my other archive folder? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see here. I'll scroll all the way to the end. Let me look. Okay, not on that page. Not on that page. Not on that page. No. I don't have a video called All Too Easy in my archive. Do you remember that band that put their murdered? No, it wasn't murder. It was a suicide, and that was Mayhem. Their lead singer dead, killed himself, and their guitarist took a picture of the corpse and used it as an album cover. It was the one where General G was dancing to some Eurobeat song, had montage of Treasy, Solid Rev, Presidor, Treasy. Oh, that was my version of a Dusk 506 video. That one's long gone. It was backed up on the laptop that got stolen. Was the finger poke of doom part of the reason WCW went out of business? It didn't help. Have you ever heard of edema? No. Seventh, who's more tragic, Darth Vader or Mr. Freeze? I don't know. Isn't that up for the viewer to decide? They stole my consoles, they stole my games, they stole my TV, they stole all the laptops in the house, the cell phones. It was like $6,000 or $7,000 worth of stuff they stole. "15-minute warning, folks. Got about 15 minutes left." Did you know AJ Styles wrestled in WCW near the end? Yeah, but he looked a lot different, if I remember right. If it's what I'm thinking of. Bye, Nicholas. Feeling a little rough, folks. Feeling a little rough. Got 15 minutes left, though, so I will stay the course. I will man up. Stay the course. Google blue waffles. No, thank you. If you're telling me to Google it, I know not to Google it. What happened to Truth? He's more or less quit gaming. He still logs in every now and again to play FIFA, and that's about it. Are you familiar with Wolverine's Rogue Gallery? Not really. Not outside of Sabretooth. Enjoy good health while you got it, gentlemen. Enjoy it while you got it. Thoughts on Beautiful Joe? It's a pretty good side scroller. It's not bad, not bad. Never knew you were bald by choice. Yep. I kept telling y'all for years and years. I kept telling y'all that I wasn't bald. I shaved my head. I started doing that when I first moved to Florida in 1998. I had all of this. Okay? I had more of it because my hairline was like here instead of here. And so it kind of hung down in my face unless I tied it back. But I had all of this, and I got to Florida, and it got to where it was always matted against the back of my neck with sweat, and I got tired of it, and I shaved it all off, and I kept it that way. I don't look like The Undertaker. Who's the worst gamer you've ever seen? I don't know, man. I've seen Darkside Phil do some pretty stupid stuff, but I don't think even he would be like the worst. But, I've seen a lot of really bad gameplay on YouTube over the years, but I couldn't tell you their names because their names weren't worth remembering. You know what I'm saying? Little bit of magic power. I might work on a new song when I go on my Christmas break. Because I'll have like 17 straight days off. Something like that. So I might work on a new song or something. I'm not sure. We'll see. No, I've never been robbed at gunpoint. That one journalist who couldn't get past the tutorial in Cuphead. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Wow. For him, that was the hardest game he had ever played. For those of us who grew up with the NES, it was Tuesday. Do you still miss the good old days of the console war? Yes. Yes. It was the most fun I ever had on YouTube and is likely the most fun I will ever have on YouTube. Just ain't the same, folks. Ain't the same. Sadly. Just doesn't do for me what it did back then. It's a lot more fun. I can remember I would get home from work every day and I'd hang out with 8th for a little bit and then I'd hop on YouTube and just check all the channels to see what everyone had done and start to formulate what I was going to do for my next video. Because back then, I posted once a week on Tuesdays. That was my schedule. And so I would wait to see what was the most saltiest thing I could reply to. So I'd get home, rush home, play with 8th, and then, watch everything and decide on who it was I was going to go after or who I was going to respond to. Because a lot of my time was spent responding to videos made to me, so it was so much fun. It's not really fun anymore. I mean, talking to you guys is fun, but yeah. Are you going to watch the Game Awards? I'll probably watch a recap rather than watch it live. It all depends. What superhero has your favorite rogues gal? Probably Batman. Although the second generation Ghost Rider had a pretty good rogues gallery. Danny Ketch. Remember how he used to catch J-Tech in his lies? Yes, that happened on a regular basis. Favorite WrestleMania? Probably WrestleMania 3. I have nostalgia for that one. Who's better, Batman or Wolverine? I would say Batman, because even though Wolverine is more powerful, Batman would study him for months and months and months to find out what his weakness was and exploit it. Yes, the algorithm really killed it, especially for the kind of content I was making. You know, and that was one of the reasons why towards the end, you know, when I created this channel, which I still think of as my new channel, I named it 7th Level Reviews because I was anticipating having to get out of the console war stuff because of what YouTube was doing and go strictly to making game reviews, because there were still folks out there who had large audiences doing game reviews. And I thought, well, you know, people seem to like this DBTS series. That's what I'll make my channel about. But it just didn't work out that way. It did for a while. Some of my reviews were getting very large views for someone who, you know, only ever got up to 20,000 subs. But it didn't last. It didn't last. Batman versus Palpatine. Come on, guys. Come on. You might as well ask me to watch Death Battle. Come on. 9 minutes left. Do you think Magneto is overpowered? Not really any more than any other top tier character. I mean, I'm sure for someone like Superman, Magneto would be like a fly on the wall, you know? It's all a level of degree. Well, Magneto can manipulate metal, whereas Palpatine can manipulate anything with the Force, and plus has Force lightning. So, I don't know. Thought about doing reviews for niche titles from the 7th generation. No one's going to watch that. When it comes to game reviews, all that really gets views is either really nostalgic videos for super old games that are done in a comedic level, and even then AVGN's the only one that still gets views doing that, or it's got to be like a brand new game, and that video has to come out within 3 days of the game coming out, and I don't get review codes. So is what it is. I just said, I know you weren't here, Fred, but I just said earlier I don't watch Death Battle. Do you think George Lucas ruined Star Wars, or was it was Disney? The only real problem with the prequel trilogy, in my opinion, was some of the choices in acting direction that was given to Hayden Christensen. And, of course, Jar Jar Binks. You fix Hayden's acting, which he could do better than that. He had done better than that in previous films. You fix that, and you take out Jar Jar, and there's nothing wrong with those movies. What's your take on retrospectives of any type? It just depends. If it's a subject that I'm interested in, I'll watch it. If it's a subject I'm not interested in, I won't. You're talking about videos that tend to be very long, and so it has to be something I'm really interested in if I'm going to invest that much time in a YouTube video. Do you think Dragon Ball is more popular than One Piece and Bleach? Absolutely. I'm not that big of a fan of any of them, although I like One Piece better than Dragon Ball. Do you think Jurassic Park 3 is underrated? No, I thought that movie sucked. Did not care for that one. Do you think they'll make another Fallout game? I don't know, man. I don't know. It seemed to me like Starfield was their attempt to break away from Fallout, and they were going to leave Fallout-style games to the Outer Worlds guys. That's how it struck me. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Yes, I've seen Jurassic World Dominion. Did you like the Thanos teaser at the end of the Avengers? It didn't really do that much one way or the other. Because by the time you actually got to meet Thanos in the films, he was a lot different than he was in that first teaser. Do you know where the adult-rated games went on the gaming stores? What do you mean where they went? Are you trying to imply that all the M-rated games are missing? Not sure I understand your question, nickname Nick. I wasn't a fan of Fallout 4 either. Most annoying game trope. Stealth missions in games that aren't stealth games. To buy. Well, physical games are disappearing from shelves in general, nickname Nick, not just adult-rated ones. I never went looking for those type of games anyway. You perv. Spider-Man or Batman? Who do you prefer? Batman. I couldn't tell you nickname Nick because, I don't get in the mood from video games. I was not a fan of stealth in Uncharted, no. Did you know Wolverine was made to rival Batman? Okay. Three minutes. 3 minutes! Then tomorrow morning, I got to get up at 7 in the morning and devote my entire off day to one more episode of Trey for Life. Yeah, Nick, it's called emulation. Favorite Spider-Man game? I've never been a big fan of Spider-Man in video games in general. I mean, out of all the ones that I've played, I think the first one from Insomniac has been the best. But again, I wasn't a tremendous fan of it. Another $5 from JV Shota. I think